So my name's Rob Thompson.
Just jinxed yourself. It's gonna start raining now. Shouldn't have said that.
If it starts raining and I lose my voice, then Emmy's in charge.
Okay, yeah, that's okay.
So, my wife and I, Nicole, we're sheep farmers up from Potter County, about 2.5 hours north of here. Town of Coudersport. Elevation about 2,400 feet, and we just transitioned our farm from my father about 2 years ago. We hit the Century Farm mark in 2019, and we've had sheep since 1980. We started out with 20, and the other day Nicole tried to count them as they're somewhat standing still, and she quit at 185 or something like that. So I'm here today to talk about the progression that we've made on our flock and on our forages by grazing. Before I go any further, I want to introduce my sidekick.
I am Emmy Wilson. This is my flock of sheep. There's about 54 there. We added some this year, so there might be 60. I don't know, they won't stand still and let me count. I tried counting them earlier. I counted doubles on just about all of them. So it didn't work out so well. So we'll just say that's an estimate. Something I would like to say is these are hair sheep. They are not wool sheep. They are white Dorper cross contonids. That means they'll shed them naturally throughout the winter and throughout the summer.
Is that it?
Oh no, I can talk more if you like.
The floor is yours.
All right. Well, since he wants me to talk some more. So I use 2 wires. They do need trade to this, so you guys use that. I know that from talking to you. If you use that, that's not a big deal. Here it didn't really work because of how we're grazing though. On your farm it might work. It's hard to move the net from say this spot to that spot. It would take
I know. It takes a long time.
yeah, it takes a long time. And some days, I have to move in 15 minutes, get to school on time, 8 o'clock. So I come out here, move them forward, and it's about 2 posts. I move them every other day. You can see they will sometimes cherry pick it if they don't like the field so much, so they get moved maybe the next day, every day sometimes. It depends on how much they eat. They look pretty peaceful right now, so they're not too upset.
They're all chewing their cuds.
That's right.
Yeah, a quiet sheep's a happy sheep, so
Yeah.
that's good.
You stole my line, Emmy.
I know, that's what I did on purpose.
No bells are ringing.
Okay, how I trained them to 2 wires. So we bring them in for the winter time. It's because when we have babies in November, they will freeze basically. So we have to take them in, which is a nice warm barn. We do that. There's a little pen that we fence out. We'll set that in half. And yes, the fencing's net, so if the babies do get out, they're not going anywhere. But I don't reset the net every year. I just touch up on it. If there's a hole, I'll fix it with baler twine or whatever. But I split it in half with my 2 wires and my electric and stuff like that. And I'll put something like corn or grain or hay. I don't usually use corn and grain. Sometimes oats. But I have found they spit oats back out. So I don't really use oats anymore. But I use hay. I'll set some up against the fence and on the other side. So they have that urge to go through and get it. When they try and go through, they'll get shocked on this fence and learn, hey, that's not a good place to be.
Try soy hulls.
What?
Soy hulls.
Yeah, kind of. You could. Yeah, I could. Yeah.
It's a grass.
Yeah, you could use it.
Works good. I like it.
Yeah, as long as they eat it.
Yeah, they eat it. Oh, they eat it.
As long as
They're follow you.
Yeah, as long as they like it, as long as they eat it, they will test that fence for it. there's green grass on the other side. They see that. Oh, I'm gonna test the fence. Nope, we're not testing that fence anymore. That's basically the thinking. Now sometimes I have little babies, 2 weeks old. They won't really go up to it yet. They're not really big enough. Maybe a week old. It depends on the day. We'll just put the baby out with Bubba. They'll learn from Bubba, being in the fence. If Bubba gets zapped, they'll know don't touch that, and that's how they learn it. Another thing, they're minerals. We use more an iron mineral, more than his cows, a little bit more than his cows, because these guys can handle a little bit more. They need a little bit more, just to keep them a little bit healthier. They get them every other day, every day if they don't eat the day before, stuff. I just try to keep it in there, because we had this happen one time last year. We had a baby born. It couldn't really stand very well because it didn't have enough calcium. Now it was from older sheep. And where we got them from, they were let out in the pasture. They were not brought in. They were not cared for. They just were let out. They babies. They die or they live, basically. Through the winter, they're out. They don't come in. They just stayed out. That's like 2 years. So they haven't really been getting the proper calcium. So we're just trying to build up a little bit more calcium for them in that aspect. One more thing before I let Rob take over. My tub is a little bit smaller than the mule tub over there. You can see it's a big black one. Usually we'd use a bigger tub that's 7 to 8 inches.
It's 9.5 inches tall.
Okay, yeah, he's measured it. 9.5 inches
Oh,
tall.
I built it.
Well, I helped. 9.5 inches tall. There's an example of that over at the garage. You can take a look at that. He was using it for one of his.
That's our cow tub, but
Yeah.
it's the basic principle of our sheep water too.
Yeah, except if you look on the sheep water, what is it, like 4 inches? I figured you would have measured.
What?
Sheep tub.
The sheep tub's 9.5 inches.
Or sheep tub.
Yeah. The valve in it is set at 4 inches. The valve was put in at 4 to 5 inches.
Yeah, but it is a little bit lower than his cow tub, because I've seen them side by side. I think they're taller. You might not. I, me, you're you. So you can measure however you want. Alright, now I'll let you get back to what you were doing.
Now that we got Emmy all fired up.
Well, Rob, do you have any time left?
Well, now she stole all my thunder and my lines. I'll have to tell you where that line came from.
Yeah, let's hear
So,
it.
anybody here a member of Adaptive Grazing? Our Facebook group? Me and Russ? Never heard of it? Man, we gotta get to work.
We got to get to work.
We gotta
Yeah.
get to work.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
So there's a farmer out in Kansas, and he's just getting into sheep, and his name's Kevin Swally. And I was yakking with him one night digitally, and he's like, you know what? A happy sheep is a quiet sheep, or it's dead.
I think it actually goes with quiet sheep.
A quiet sheep is a happy sheep, or it's dead. And I think he was learning at a rapid pace about keeping sheep fed and making sure
This is his first year with
the
sheep.
room capacity. Yeah, he's jumping in deep. He's
got a
about 30
bunch.
head in
Is
today.
he?
Yeah.
He's probably got 150 head then, probably, doesn't
Yeah.
he?
So, and another line that Emmy couldn't remember is from the father of the National Park System in the United States, John Muir. Sheep are like people; they're ungovernable when they're hungry. And I can remember the drought of '88 with woven wire fence that my dad bought at an auction. And those ewes were through that every day because we didn't have any grass. They just tore that fence to pieces. So I said, Dad, that's the last time you're buying used woven wire fence at an auction. So So I'm supposed to talk about the progression of how well our grass is, how good our grass is, and how the sheep are doing. And my
the grasses
philosophy.
The sheep don't like. Yeah, the grasses the sheep don't like
Yep.
dog bane, and the one I really like, multi-flower rose, stuff like that.
Yep.
Don't like dog bane. Ours eat.
They strip the leaves. They strip the leaves.
Well,
Yeah.
see, he doesn't know this, but they'll actually go through, and then they'll get really upset because then they don't have any grass, and they just don't look up. I guess my sheep are a little bit lazier than yours, who take the time and do that.
Maybe.
So. You done?
Yeah.
Thank you, Emmy. My philosophy is to keep them moving forward, and listening to Russ and to many other people. I don't back. I shouldn't say that. I will back graze if I have to. Like today, I went up to move the sheep at 3 o'clock this morning, 3:30 or something like that, and the paddock they were in, they were just full, and there's no way that I was going to get them up in dark and move them. And so we move our sheep by lifting the fence and let them go underneath. Now, it's taught some of them bad habits. I'll take, for the benefits we've gotten so far, I'll take a road group because they're tastier. They're the best fed.
Mm-hmm.
But just keep moving them ahead. But they are back grazing a little bit today just because I wasn't going to wait for them to stretch and
Stretch and poop and pee.
yeah.
They got to do that before
Yeah,
they
but
move.
I had a 2.5 hour ride ahead of me, and I wasn't waiting.
So do
But we try and always, when we're moving head, try and maintain grass that looks something like this before we let them in. Shoot for 10 inches and try and get them out of there at 4 or longer. This right here is beautiful. Yeah. And in my part of the state, that'll green up by the middle of April, to where if my hay pile's running a little short, I have no qualms now about going out and putting them on this stuff. I've heard people say, well, don't graze that early, you're going to set it back, but it hasn't happened.
It doesn't
My first
happen.
try, I didn't hurt anything. And some of the paddocks, or some of the pastures this year, I've grazed 4 times since April. And it's just been amazing.
And some of them you just grazed for the first time, didn't you, Rob? Just short, not long ago.
I have not done that yet.
Okay, I was thinking you had one that was really long rested here, not long
It
ago.
was May.
Yeah.
It
So
was May. And they went through, and actually that would be this sample. It was raised on 9/24, and that's 26 days of regrowth there. Is that what this is? I had some really
26,
nice
yep.
signs made up, but
Yep.
the rain this morning kind of made them go away. So we got
26.
26 days of regrowth there.
15 days.
61 days there. And
Being to Rob's farm, I've been up there for at least the last 3 years, maybe 4 years.
I think it's been longer than that, Russ.
It's been a while. Yeah, my
7
first trip.
years. Was
The
7
first-
years ago was your first trip.
My first trip up there, and I was up again last year, and Rob never had anything like that until this year.
Hasn't come easy. Hasn't come easy.
rotationally grazing them for 7 years and just kind of seeing slow improvement, and then this year it just kind of like popped? Or
So you know the all the horror stories you hear of rotational grazing, nuke in the pastures, or not staying in long enough and moving too fast. Which anymore I don't believe you can move too fast. But and then I had a discussion with Russ about this. Is a big factor is peer pressure.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible.
Yeah, competition, yeah.
Well, I mean, human peer pressure.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's been it's been tough, but it's coming along. So, but the reason we like to get out and try and maintain that 2 to 4 inch residue when we're out of there or longer is because this height here is what I call the best zone. That's where the internal parasites will hang out. And why I try not to back graze so much is I've seen regrowth start 2 days after grazing. During the really good optimum temperatures and conditions, you'll see 2 inches of growth in 2 days, it seems like. And after speaking with some sheep specialists from universities in the Penn State sheep vet, like barber pole worm can hatch out and start to migrate up them stems in 2 days after deposit on the ground. So, and I'll tell you, I've had some years where I wanted to sell the sheep because I was carrying them to the woods just because of barber pole worms. And when dewormer doesn't work anymore, you got to try something else that's pretty drastic. So that's why we've gone to quick moves and just keep moving them forward. See, I've covered the back grazing, forage regrowth. The other thing is the impact on getting regrowth is if you let the sheep back graze and they see this candy back there, they're just depleting the plant again when it's not ready. So it has no solar panel on top of it. And I mean, these all the same soil type on this field, and you can see that they grow pretty rapidly. We have a lot of clay on this side of the farm where I took these plugs from. And if those sheep like this stuff and those worms are in there, they just load up if you give them the chance to go back and keep hitting them sweet spots. Watering system. I use a portable water system for mine. It's a 300-gallon Army surplus water tank from, I think, World War II. My grandfather got it when he was a potato grower. The Army made it available to him to grow potatoes for the guys overseas, and it's still hanging around the farm. Heavy as all get out, but it's paid for. The reason I like that system is because it is very flexible. If I can fit the tractor in that wagon somewhere, I can get the sheep water. That's the pro. The con is capacity, especially during the hot weather. which turns into labor. In weather like this, 300 gallons might last me 4, 5, 6 days. During the heat of summer, I'm filling that thing every 18 to 36 hours. So
300 gallon.
300
For
gallons.
how many?
At the height this year, around 300, when I didn't have the ram lambs weaned off.
Gallon a day.
About 100. I think it was averaging like 150, 170 gallons per day during the really hot weather.
All right, so
And
much less than a gallon a day.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I really, at some point, I want to put in some hard watering points, but I don't like to dig, and we have a lot of utilities that run across the farm, and at least I know with the portable watering system, if I lose water pressure, I only have to look between 40 and 100 feet away. Something's wrong. I've heard and seen horror stories of underground systems that for some reason pop. And how many thousand feet of water line you got? 12,000. Find a water leak in 12,000 feet of water line that's 3 feet under the ground or more.
Yeah.
I don't think I could handle that.
Well, and you got a lot of hills to deal with too.
Yeah, we got a lot of hills.
So he would be dealing with some pretty high pressure at the low spots.
Yeah,
Is that gravity fed?
it's gravity. Everything's gravity. And one thing I wanted to mention is with my I used to use one of those old ones you screwed on the top of the tub.
Yeah.
I got one off of Russ this spring. Put it in a Kent 50-pound molasses tub.
Yeah.
And I can pump water uphill with that.
Wow.
It works out well.
Yeah.
Because it goes in from the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one I could never do that. So it's working out pretty nice. And we had an issue last week where we had some leaking going on, but we got that resolved.
Scout. Come on.
Oh, there's Scout.
Come on, Bubba. Come on.
So
Come on, what are you doing? Body.
and if anybody has any more questions while I'm rambling here,
Boy, yes.
feel free to ask.
That's a good boy.
What has been the results of doing a system very similar to this? This year, I went from 5 dewormings during the summer to 1, which is huge for me.
How much money would that equate to, Rob?
I don't know. I see side decked in some places now is $112 a bottle.
Yeah. So it could be a lot of money
I think
actually.
it's a lot of money. I mean, not only the dewormer to bring in 300 sheep and touch every one of them takes hours without a system. I muscle them all.
Yeah, Rob's messaged me and said, "I'm ready for bed." Well, what's up, Rob? Well, I just ran all the sheep through the chute today.
Yeah, we FAMACHA and we handle each one when they come in.
What does your setup look like? What is your?
It's a 24 by 40 shed open. And I can put some panels up and break them down into smaller groups. But that's it. I just walk in there with my backpack and sometimes a crook hanging up somewhere pretty handy and grab each one and look at them and do what I got to. And I come out of there looking like Arnold. and
Not feeling like him.
Wish I could look like that. I'm like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But another big thing this year is knock on this wooden stick, 0% death loss to parasites.
0.
0.
Are you mainly losing them to barber pole?
Barber pole.
Yeah.
Now, right now, I'm getting spanked on my ram lamb group. I'm getting spanked by barber pole and brown stomach. but they're under stress because they're away from mama. The ewe lambs who are still with mama, all is well.
Yeah, that was about the same with us. We only lost ram lambs this year. We didn't lose any from our ewe group or their lambs.
Yep.
Are you usually using Sidactin for worming?
Most of the time.
Do you use Prohibit?
I did the other day.
That's the only thing
It's
that's
the only
worked.
thing we found that works for barber pole. And apparently it's supposed to make them not able to breed more once they drop it in
Right.
pasture.
I'll throw Prohibit in there to give somebody a right hook.
Yeah.
Because Sidactin is supposed to be the only one that'll work on the brown stomach,
Okay.
which gives, you know, the messy back ends before they go to market. Makes things look really bad.
Right.
But
Can you use both of those in conjunction with each other?
Same
Kind
time.
of like
if
you
you
can do
if you
Valbase
dose
and then
if you
Prohibit.
don't mix them, but dose them, get
Gotcha.
different syringes, you're supposed to be able to do that.
Right.
And I know some people that are doing Prohibit, Sidactin, and Safeguard
Okay.
with their veterinarian's prescription.
Right.
Pull that out, but I'm not gonna.
Wouldn't that really put a lot of stress on the animal?
Yeah, I imagine. it
I
would.
mean, like the
Double dose,
liver,
they
the
get-
liver.
Anybody want a
and-
copy of my notes?
Well, yeah, Rob.
First time I've seen these.
Thank you.
Hi, Scout.
Here, I'll take care of
You
it,
gonna
Rob.
take care of that? So, but yeah. So 0% this year, which I'm
Now,
ecstatic
is
about.
there a time of year that it's better or worse?
All depends on the weather for me. But I'll start looking for worm load a week to 10 days before fair time. So for us, Allegheny County Fair in New York usually is like the third week in July. And that always seems to be the time if something bad's gonna happen. That's when it
It's about
starts.
mid-July on.
Yeah, when the
roughly.
heat starts rolling
You're
in.
doing slide, fecal in the slide, or what?
Not yet. Or those lambs that have the staggers where it's like, holy cow, something's going on.
No problem with brainworm?
No, and we have a tremendous deer herd, and I hear people say they have brainworm, but I have yet to see it.
Yeah.
We've never seen that.
Do you ever have any problems being that you have so many deer with like
Yeah.
lepto or neospore or anything like that?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I did have a lamb die. Gosh, this was 3 years ago. I took it down to have it necropsied at Penn State, and it came back with a whole list of stuff. And you'll see there at the end of my note somewhere, it'll say, disclaimer, this can all change rapidly with arrogance. We used to vaccinate a long time ago for just like C and D, and then we quit because we're grass farmers. We don't have that problem. Well, this one field that we started grazing on, the forage was getting really, really good. And we put the ewes and the lambs on there, and I had a lamb die. And I said, well, this is concerning. You know, he shouldn't have died. He was really nice. And it came back, what got him was Clostridium perfringens type A and B. Not C and D, but A and B. And so I talked to the diagnostic vet down there, and they said, well, what are you feeding him? I said, well, we've just been on grass pasture. And then she said, well, how good a grass pasture? And I said, pretty good. And she's like, well, that's what got the Clostridium going. So we have moved to an 8-way now. And we also ran into a lot of pasture pneumonia, which thankfully this year didn't really rear its ugly head. But
So you are back to vaccinating.
we are back to vaccinating with an 8-way. And
Yearly?
Yep.
He just misses handling the sheep because he's not worried about worms now.
Always come to my house. You must handle it.
I still got to shear. And actually, you know, I could take a deworming away from that deworming count, because this year, it's when they come through the shearing shed, I used to just blanket deworm everybody because they were just about ready to lamb. We start lambing on Memorial Day weekend. And this year I said, no, I'm just going to FOMACHA them all and see what we do. And I think maybe out of those 110 ewes, I might have dewormed 10 of them. And then everybody else blazed right through until August. And I had to deworm a couple more after that. But so I could take another deworming away from that. And yeah, so that arrogance thing it'll sneak up on you. So I keep knocking on wood and tables and stuff, so I don't think I'm doing too good of a job, so I stay humble. But there have been years, you know, as far as that lamb or the death rate from internal parasites, where during the summertime this was just not fun. And
Does it decrease this time of year?
What's that?
The worm issue decreases this time of year, or not
No.
really? Not really.
I'm getting pounded on a group of market lambs right now.
All right.
That they don't look good, and you know it's worms.
What's something for us to start looking for before they start dying? They start getting thin. Do they get?
They start getting thin,
lethargic?
losing body condition. They just don't look good.
Okay.
With barber pole, ours always get bottle jaw.
I've seen them without the bottle.
Gone pretty
we
fast
have too.
afterwards.
Yeah.
He brought
But
him
we-
back to
Yeah.
bottle jaw.
But we've also seen them.
Have
where
you been
they're
able to
just
save them?
in the pasture, and they're just getting lumps from
Yep.
bees, and we think that it's bottle
Yep.
jaw. Have we been able to save them?
Save them
If
from
they go
bottle jaw?
down- If they go down,
Then no.
no.
Because
Once they go down,
our previous flocks of sheep, we've never wormed this flock of sheep. We've never trimmed the hooves. We've never treated for hoof rot. But previous flocks of sheep talk about carrying dead sheep to the woods. As soon as they got bottle jaw, you might as well just take them to the woods, because you're not saving them. We try to save them, but
If they're on their feet or off their feet.
it didn't matter. If they had
Yeah.
bottle jaw, you were taking them to the woods eventually.
For us, if you tried to move them down to the barn or anything like
They would
that,
just
and
drop.
they laid down and
They
they
made it
dropped,
worse.
they're not getting back up.
Can't
I
run
mean,
them.
even if you worm them, anything, electrolytes, they're not going to make it.
Did you
Yeah.
do prohibit after you found them?
Yeah, we've done prohibit. We've
And you
used
still
we
went to the
used all
woods?
the wormers. Yeah.
Still went to the
I
woods.
feel like
Yeah.
sometimes also when they're that far gone and if they're that full of worms, when you worm them, that toxic die-off is going to kill them just as fast as the
Yeah.
worms
So
are.
you
I wouldn't
might
doubt
as
it.
well
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
loaded, they just release all that dead toxic shit, whatever it is,
Mhm.
you know.
A long time ago, I was raising large black pigs for a farm out in the Hudson Valley, and we were running into anemia with the baby pigs. And the vet out there told me it takes 3 weeks to build red blood cells. So
So that's a long
it's a
time.
long time.
Yeah.
Even with giving iron shot.
But we weren't given iron shots. We were feeding sod, and we were still getting some anemia. So, nonetheless, we started giving iron shots. But that's pretty much the ball game. I wanted to explain this picture a little bit. I mean, all these forage samples here pretty much come from this area. It's
What-
actually a 20-acre field
What
that I busted.
part of your farm is it
This is
in?
on the west side, Russ. Remember where we shot that video that day?
Yeah,
That's right
that's the west side. Seriously.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's another benefit. Some people call it a benefit, but this is one of the smallest paddocks I've ever put this amount of sheep in. It's probably 40 wide and maybe 10, 130 to 140 long. And this is right after weaning, so there's 200 and some sheep in there. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be a circus. Because my sheep don't like to be penned up. Not that close to quarters. But I have discussions with my wife, Nicole, Penn State. Is she here?
No, she's not here. You can talk. You can talk, Rob.
Penn State Field Forage Crops educator.
I'll just edit that out of the video.
But you know, sometimes people get upset about like all the amount of Queen Anne's lace you see around. Oh, wild carrot taking up space. Blah blah blah. Wild carrot. What's back here?
Nothing.
They
Love it.
murdered that stuff.
It's full of minerals.
Deep root, tap root.
After it blooms, it's a biannual. Once it blooms, it's done.
The Timothy heads, you can see them going, they're getting mature. There's some orchard grass in there too, a lot of it actually. Probably tough is almost getting to that baling wire stage. When this group got into there, and we noticed it about a month prior to that, that certain animals in this group, when they went into these new paddocks, were starting from the top down. We would run them through orchard grass this tall, and there wouldn't be a head left on them, and most of the stem gone too. Same thing with these, you know, just everything was going away, and it's mainly the hair sheep, these guys here, and the hair influenced lambs that are in there were doing the same thing. The Texels, they were going for grass and clover. Most of these sheep are Texel influenced. But yeah, they were just devastating on it. Multiflora rose, I got pictures on the phone over there to prove it. I can show you what a multiflora rose skeleton looks like. The hair sheep would pick every leaf off those multiflora rose. Bush honeysuckles, my browse line went from here up to here because the hair sheep would stand on their hind legs like goats. I'm still convinced they're part goat, but you know, they've been a real asset as far as getting rid of some of these. You know, the multiflora rose aren't turning into bushes anymore.
Yeah, they're sheep that live.
Kind of plants.
All right.
Mainly Katahdin
running,
I don't know
strands?
for sure.
Yeah, it's
I'm running three strands.
Yeah,
so
basically ditto here.
this is basically my fence setup over here. I had to have Russ find me up some of my posts because I don't know how to use O'Brien's. I'm only used to these things. And basically 3 strands. Instead of removing the end and letting the sheep in, I'll lift up 2 or 3 posts and let them go underneath. That I may have shot myself in the foot doing that, but I'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, how do you take 100 or 300 sheep through a gate on one end of the pasture? You don't. You take half of them through and the other through, or run through the section that they run back on, right?
They destroyed my solar fencer the other day.
Did they really?
Yep.
Oh.
We were moving them, and I lifted up the wire on 3 posts, I think. And before all of them made it underneath that, some of them made a hard right and blasted through the fence and took the solar fencer with it. And
it's reassuring to know that even after decades more experience, the problems I have won't go away.
And Nicole said, maybe you should have, I thought maybe you should have lived in another post. But
Sounds very familiar.
But this sample comes off of that where we had moved them from, and I got lazy that week. I was tired, you know. And it was getting a little short. And it was finally time to move them. We got our stuff around and got them a new strip. And yeah, so laziness does occur sometimes.
Yep.
he grazes a lot more than me. I've been doing it this year, plus family and other things that have happened for 7 months now, and sometimes you just get tired. And
Sometimes you just
Some
need to
days
walk
you-
away from them.
some days you build a 5-day paddock and
Just walk away. Yeah.
that, I see he goes on. How do you do it when you go for your rides in state forest?
We go for 4 days usually, and we give them 5 days. We give them 5 days worth of grazing, and we wave to them when we leave, and we'll see them when we get back.
It'll regrow.
And they're usually out when we get back.
And they're usually out. Yeah. The sheep.
I was
The
waiting
sheep.
for that to be said.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay, Russ isn't
Leave the
perfect.
neighbors
Thanks,
good
Emmy.
instructions.
Yeah.
So,
Oh no, I make just as many mistakes as everybody else.
If not more.
but we have put 4 strands up to try and mitigate them getting out, and someone just jump it or just go through it. It's not going to stop them, but
Mostly the lambs, the young ones mostly.
no,
No?
it's yearlings.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
For me, it's the old ewes. The old ones. They're
My
always the ones that
The
lead
wise
them through.
yeah,
They
my
really gotta do it.
hair sheep aren't as heavily
Russ is
bodied
brown
as Russ, but I'm
Just
full
the chocolate.
cotton.
Just the chocolates.
Where you got that dope rim where they're a little heavier body. So mine are they ain't got as much gravity as yours do.
Well, we had some of them longer-legged, goat-looking animals, and we've kind of got rid of those ones.
They were pretty ugly.
gotta come up and look at mine. Mine are pretty. Yeah.
I'll bring her up the next time I come up. He's got those textiles that got the real thick hind quarters on them.
Yeah. But so some other things we've noticed. This year we got to soil sample half the farm, and the last time that was done was 2016, and we have noticed about 0.2 to 0.6 higher in soil pH, and that was no lime. One field was lime, I'm sorry.
What do you contribute to the pH rising? Just the organic material
I think
that
the
you're...
organic material, I think, and I'll show it here in a second. I think it's this ugly brown stuff that doesn't let the sunlight to the soil. I think that has something to do with it. And then this, if I can find it again, if you look at the top right here, look at all those earthworm castings up there. pH on them 7,
Yeah, so they can help
according to
neutral.
university research. So,
I've actually tested them with the Cornell test, and they've come out pretty close to 7.
7. So that's pretty lime in my book. Sheep manure on grass is basic, or should be around 7. So there's another plus. Hopefully that it's doing something. I haven't been able to find any research that says that the CC carbon calcium equivalent of sheep manure is the same as lime or acts as lime. I haven't been able to find that yet, but it's got to have something to do with it. But on the other side, some of our soil tests on those fields came back lower on phosphorus and potassium, which I haven't figured that out yet. I would have thought it would have been more or going up, but because I'm not really taking that much off, I don't think, not with leaving residue like that. But it still might be feeling the effects of 50 years of baling all the hay and feeding it on one pasture. You know, we still might be feeling those effects. So,
What is your mineral program like?
most of the time it's just trace mineral salt.